Spring training is officially underway, with games already in progress. The off-season is mostly behind us, though a few notable free agents remain unsigned, and there's still the possibility of some last-minute blockbuster trades, perhaps involving stars like Nolan Arenado or Dylan Cease. With the market largely settled and the Japan series just a few weeks away, it's the perfect time for final off-season grades. Keep in mind we're grading with context in mind. We don't expect smaller market teams to spend at the level of the Dodgers or Yankees, but we do expect them to make meaningful moves. So who came out on top? That one's easy. The reigning champions have only gotten stronger and deeper, setting themselves up for another dominant season. Meanwhile, in the heart of New York City, Madison Square Garden was rocking with UConn fans. St. John's had jumped out to a commanding 22-point lead over the reigning back-to-back champions, but the Huskies weren't going down without a fight. In just 4 minutes, they had sliced the deficit to 9, forcing Rick Pitino to call a timeout. Before Pitino could even begin to speak, Zuby Ejiofor took charge. We huddled up and Zuby said, "Look, we've battled injuries. We don't break. We've been here before. We know what to do," Pitino recalled. The message was clear. St. John's responded immediately, pushing the lead back to double digits and never looking back, cruising to an 89-75 victory. It was a stark contrast to nearly a year prior, when a disappointing 68-62 home loss to Seton Hall on February 18, 2024, had Pitino venting his frustrations. "That season was the most unenjoyable experience I've had since I started coaching," he said at the time. "We recruited the exact opposite of my coaching philosophy: speed, quickness, fundamentals, strength, and toughness. It's a good group, they try hard, but they're just not tough." Fast forward, and St. John's has completely rewritten its story. From a mid-tier Big East team to securing its first outright regular season conference title since 1985, the Red Storm have transformed into a legitimate Final Four contender under Pitino in just his second season. St. John's basketball has had its fair share of false dawns, but this time it feels different. A year removed from missing the NCAA tournament, they've climbed to their highest national ranking, number 6, since the 1990-91 season when Lou Carnesecca led them to number 5 in his signature sweaters. And they've done it in true New York fashion, with Brooklyn's own Kaderi Richmond leading the way, another Hall of Fame coach on the sidelines, and an aggressive, relentless style of play on both ends of the floor. It's the kind of team that longtime Johnny's fans have rallied behind in the past, the kind they've been yearning to see return to the Garden. With Pitino finally at the helm, they just might have their best shot yet. Now, the real question looms. Can this St. John's squad achieve what even the great teams led by Carnesecca and Chris Mullin could not: win a national championship? Back in October 2023, just weeks before his first season at St. John's began, Pitino had already pinpointed his biggest concern: defense. "The tough part is teaching 12 or 13 guys who are all the best defensive player on their team but don't know how to play defense," he told ESPN. "We've got the best player from VMI, the best player from Penn, the best player from Harvard, a terrific player from UMass, all incredibly skilled offensively. But defense isn't their strong suit." He wasn't wrong. Last season, St. John's allowed over 1 point per possession in 20 of its 33 games. This season, however, they've flipped the script. Only 8 opponents have reached that mark. Pitino has a history of building elite defensive teams. In his 16 seasons at Louisville, the Cardinals ranked in the top 10 nationally in adjusted defensive efficiency 10 times, finishing number 1 3 times. His final Kentucky squad in 1997 also led the nation in defense, and each of his 3 teams at Iona, 2020-23, ranked first or second in defensive efficiency within the MAC. The formula for those teams: length, athleticism, pressure defense, forcing turnovers and blocking shots. They made opponents uncomfortable. Steve Masiello, St. John's associate head coach, and a former walk-on at Kentucky under Pitino who later worked as an assistant at Louisville from 2005 to 2011, admitted that in the rush to build an entirely new roster in Pitino's first offseason, some key elements were overlooked. "When we took the job, we went after the best players available, checking as many boxes as we could," Masiello told ESPN. Those guys were great, but we didn't check enough boxes. As the season went on, we realized we had to address our defensive deficiencies. Determined to improve, Masiello traveled to Houston during the offseason to observe Kelvin Sampson's team, one of the nation's best defensive squads in recent years. With that knowledge, St. John's refined its recruiting approach, focusing on two primary attributes: length and athleticism. Instead of targeting lower division transfers, Pitino and his staff sought players with experience at the highest level. Richmond, a standout at Seton Hall, was already one of the best players in the Big East. Davon Smith had played in the SEC, ACC, and Pac-12. Vince Iwuchukwu arrived from USC, while Aaron Scott brought 3-and-D reliability from North Texas. The coaching staff did an incredible job bringing in guys who were truly committed, Ejiofor told ESPN. And the returning players preached the importance of defense all off-season. Now, you can see the results when we're fully connected on that end of the floor. Returning players have also benefited from spending a full year in Pitino's system. RJ Luis has blossomed into one of the Big East's top players, while Ejiofor has emerged as a versatile defender capable of guarding multiple positions. Guys who are here for a short time think offense is the key to getting where they want to go, Pitino told ESPN. I've convinced this team otherwise. We use the analogy of Broadway. If you want to showcase your skills, the only way to get there is through winning. Otherwise, you're off Broadway and no one sees you play. If you get to Broadway, then it's about whether your skills are good enough. But the first step is defense and winning. This season, St. John's has become one of college basketball's premier defensive teams. Pitino often describes them as relentless, and the numbers back it up. The Red Storm lead the Big East in scoring defense and field goal percentage defense, holding opponents to under 66 points per game while limiting them to sub-40% shooting. Nationally, they rank in the top 20 in defensive turnover percentage, 2-point percentage defense, block rate, and steals. In their February 23 matchup with UConn, St. John's forced 18 turnovers and turned them into 24 points, leaving Huskies coach Dan Hurley searching for answers. The pressure is one thing, Hurley said. But it's not just their full-court press. It's their switching, their positioning, their physicality. They remind me of Houston with how they play defense and rebound. Now, the biggest question remains. Can St. John's defense and elite rebounding carry them to a national championship despite their struggles shooting the ball? Spring training is officially underway, with games already in progress. The off-season,